Well, welcome to the webinar, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Today's webinar is about kids' vitamins. What they need, why they need it. More importantly, do they need it at all? That's kind of where you start. There's a lot of kids' vitamins on the market. There's a lot of discussion as to whether or not kids even need vitamins. There's a lot of discussion as to whether or not the kids need the vitamins that are available on the store shelves. But we have to start with the basics. Do kids need vitamins? So let's kind of jump in and talk about that aspect of things first. One third of our kids in this country are overweight. To put that in perspective, I'm in my mid 40s, about to be 46. And when I was a child, about 8% of the kids, that's people under the age of 18 in America, about 8% were overweight. Today it's 33%. If you take that number and you multiply it from 20 years from now, what you're looking at is the best estimates we have is that the US population will be 95% overweight. Currently it's sitting at about 74%, but that's where we're headed. The scarier part is that 1/6 of our children are obese. That means we have children under the age of 18, 1/6 of them, that have a BMI over 30. Now, this is obviously a problem, and there's a lot of reasons, there's a lot of causes, there's a lot of different things that we can blame. But the reality is, us as parents, as caregivers, as providers, are just as guilty as anyone else. We can't just point our fingers. We have to remember every time we point our finger somewhere, you got you got three more of them pointing back at you. We have to take some responsibility for this, and that's what these Wednesday Lunch and Learns are about. It's not to blame, it's not to point fingers, it's to basically educate. So let's look at the problem. The biggest issue is this is not what our kids' plates look like every day. They don't look like they have all these vegetables on there. In fact, a lot of times if you put this in front of your child, they think you've lost your mind. Because most children haven't seen this many vegetables in a week, much less in one sitting. So this is the problem, is what is being placed in front of them. What is the items that they are being provided for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day? What are our school lunches looking like? What do our dinners look like? We always have that excuse of time or lack of it that is a contributing factor. The reality is fewer than 20% of our kids consume the recommended 5 or more servings of fruits and vegetables daily. Fewer than 20%. Is there any doubt that we have a major issue in this country when fewer than 20% of our kids get their recommended fruits and vegetables? This leads to all kinds of deficiencies, all kinds of nutritional deficiencies, vitamin, minerals, etc., fiber, all kinds of gut and intestinal issues, allergies, other things. But the reality is we just aren't eating our fruits and vegetables the way we once did. In fact, if you want to really look at it, the number's actually worse, because 25% of all the vegetables consumed by kids are French fries. And let's be real. If we take a potato and we put it into a deep fryer and then bring it out, does it taste amazing? Absolutely, no doubt. Add a little salt to it or add a lot of salt to it, it tastes unbelievable. The problem is, does it really have the vegetable connotation that it used to? Does it really have that nutritional value? Have we degraded the value, nutritional value of the food? Absolutely, without a doubt we have. So even though we're counting this, if you really look at that number before and it says, less than 20% get their 5 servings, that includes French fries. You take that out and the number's in the single digits. It is that crazy, and we've got to do a better job, because this is helping to contribute to the nutritional deficiencies that our children have. So empty calories from added sugars and solid fats make up 40% of our kids' diets. Let that set in for just a second. Empty calories, that means calories with no nutritional value. Okay, remember, no nutritional value. Sugars don't have a nutritional value. They don't provide any benefit. So no nutritional value. Solid fats, those are not the good fats. Those are the bad fats. Make up 40% of the kids' diets. In fact, if you actually look at it, 50% of those calories, 50% of those added sugars and solid fats all come from these 6 things. That's sodas, fruit juices, as well as pizza, ice cream, baked goods, and milk. There's your source of a majority of our kids' diet on a daily basis. They are drinking their calories with all of their sodas and Gatorades and fruit juices, etc. And pizza makes up about half of the school lunches that kids have on a daily basis. And then, of course, the ice cream and pastries and the milk. It all adds up. And that's why we have the problem that we have. In fact, the American Heart Association recommends that our children have 6 teaspoons should be tablespoons, of sugar on a daily basis, maximum. 6 servings maximum per day. That's what they should have. And what we have here is 27 for boys, 20 for girls on average. You wonder why 1/3 of our kids in this country are overweight and 1/6 are obese? Here's your answer right here. 27 servings for boys on average of sugar per day. Girls 20. This is non-sustainable. This is why we no longer call type 2 diabetes adult onset diabetes. This is why it's exponentially increased in the number of occurrences in children, and now everywhere you just see type 2 diabetes. I mean, it's insane the amount of sugar that our kids are consuming, and all on our watch. In fact, according to the Centers for Disease Control, the average American kid spends exactly 4 minutes outside daily. Now, what's interesting about this stat is a lot of times parents want to blame the video games and things like that. But next time, before we start the blame game, because remember, this Wednesday Lunch and Learn is not about blaming. It's about finding a solution. It's about identifying a problem. Remember that maybe the reason why they grabbed that joystick was because the remote control was already taken. If we want to make a change, we have to start with ourselves. We are the examples. Kids will not do what we say, they will do what we do. And it's hard for us to say, go outside and play when we're sitting on the couch watching TV. If we want them to change, we need to get outside with them. We need to move. We need to encourage them to have a healthy lifestyle. So these are the numbers, and this is why we have the nutritional gaps that we have. In fact, if you really look at it, nutritional gaps is part of the circle of healthy living. What you do in your diet on the left-hand side and your lifestyle on the right-hand side will determine the extent of your nutritional gap. The better choices that we make in our diet and lifestyle, the shorter the gap is, and the fewer nutrients and or supplements we need to supplement our diet with. The more habits that we have that maybe aren't the healthiest in our diet or our inactivity in our lifestyle will lead to a larger gap requiring more supplementation in order to get the nutrients we need, that our body needs, to operate at its optimal level. And that's what this is all about. Idealife developed a kids vitamin that is a one of a kind. 24 vitamins and minerals. The reason why is there's 18 essentials, and then you need the cofactors to deliver those vitamins and minerals to the body's organs and tissues. It's great tasting. It's one of a kind, and we're about to go through why. It's the highest quality vitamin on the market, hands down. There's no label paint, no cartoon characters or gimmicks, only the purest, highest quality ingredients available. So how does it compare? I can sit here and talk about how great it is. I can tell you from a marketing standpoint why it's better than everything else on the market. But what about a real comparison? What about an apples to apples comparison side by side? Well, here you go. If you look at ours, and we're going to compare it against Bayer's Flintstones Complete, Little Critters Gummy Bites, ViSalus' Kids Gummy, Herbalife's Multivites, Shaklee Kids Incredivites, and Isagenix IsaKids Essentials. And all of this data was taken from the various companies' websites in September 2017 at either the distributor or Walmart.com pricing. So for the retail products that you can find, went to Walmart.com, found the cheapest place we could find them, and basically put those prices on there. But let's break it down to really looking at some of the key factors here. So if you look at the number of vitamins and minerals, this is critical because remember what we said. There are 18 essential vitamins and minerals, and then there are the 6 cofactors. If you don't understand what cofactors are, you need to understand that, because the idea behind cofactors is they are basically your traffic cops in the simplistic term. They are the delivery systems of those vitamins and minerals to get them to go where they need to go. So without those cofactors, it very well may be that it's a waste of time and money. So research that and learn a little bit more about what cofactors are. But if you see this, when I say that ID Life's Kids Vitamin is unmatched, you can see for the most part, other than the Shaklee Kids that has 23 vitamins and minerals, ID Life is the only one that has the vitamins and minerals essential to a child's development. In addition, we are the only one with no sugar. In fact, not only no sugar, but also no sugar added. If you don't understand added sugars, what those are ingredients that currently are not required to be on the label with regard to counting towards the sugar, but come July 2018, they will be. There's all kinds of added sugars, including high fructose corn syrup, which is probably the most well known that is out there. And each of the ones, as you see in here, have used some form of added sugar in their formula, again, other than the Shaklee Kids Incredivites. The other thing that you need to know is that 98% of Americans, 98%, including children, are potassium deficient. Now, see, potassium has a lot of essential functional requirements. I mean, it really does help the body operate the way that it was intended to operate. The idea behind today is not necessarily to educate you on the value and importance of potassium, but what you do need to know, I mean, there's always that question, do our kids really need a vitamin supplement? Do we as adults really need a vitamin supplement? Well, when 98% of us are walking around potassium deficient, you need to understand that a lot of that is required and as a result of our nutritional deficiencies because our diet does not have enough potassium in it. Now, before you run out and buy a whole bunch of bananas and start feeding your kids bananas on a regular basis, just remember, people buy bananas for the potassium, but the reality is when you actually look at the food chart, bananas right at, I think, 1,622 on the food chart for potassium content, right below Reese's Pieces. That's right. If you really want something high in potassium, you need to be looking at those dark green vegetables like kale, things of that nature. So just understand that if you're going to start feeding your kids better so that they can start getting the potassium in their diet that they need, by all means, it's not the quickest and easiest thing that we've been taught, which is the banana. There are some better choices out there. But the real thing is, ID Life took the time to actually add potassium to its kids' nutrition formula because we knew of that deficiency and we wanted to cover it. And as you can see, no one else took the time to do that. The other thing that ID Life does in our formula that no one else does is we have methylfolate and methylcobalamin. Again, I encourage you to do some research on these two nutrients. When you're dealing with the MTHFR genetic marker, now the MTHFR genetic marker has been linked to the number one cause of miscarriage in this country. It is a direct result of the body's inability to uptake normal folic acid. The methylated folate allows everyone to uptake the folate in a format that they can get the benefits of what they need. Most importantly, it's for spinal cord, spinal tube development. Obviously, in children, that's quite important. But the reason why a lot of companies don't use methylfolate and methylcobalamin is because of the cost. I mean, the cost for these ingredients can be 10 to 20x. That's not percent, that's 10 to 20x, that's times more expensive than the cheaper forms of folic acid and cyanocobalamin. So, ID Life took the time, did the research, followed the science to basically say, look, this is what our kids deserve, this is what our kids need, this is the right choice. Now, what's interesting about that is I've just told you how expensive those two ingredients are. And it's not like we barely put any in there. I mean, we really put in there what kiddos could use on a daily basis. But when you really get it down and you look at the price, it's hard to understand. I mean, how could ID Life be so inexpensive but yet contain the highest quality ingredients? Well, it's because, we did the right thing. We always do what's best for the consumer. And in this case, because the consumer is our children, we wanted to put our money where our mouth was. Not only build the best, but also build it at an affordable price. We've talked about the Shaklee Kids Incredivites, and their vitamin is actually pretty good compared to all the other ones that are on this list. But when you really break it down and you look at the comparison, there's no potassium, there's no methylfolate, no methylcobalamin. There is only 1 gram of sugar. But the biggest issue here is even if you want to do side-by-side comparison and know it's missing those things, the price. it's literally, $10 more, $11 more for a vitamin that just doesn't contain the same ingredients that the ID Life Kids Nutrition Vitamin contains. So, we've established the what, which is the overweight obesity issue, and we've established the why, which is what's in their diet and what they're being fed every single day and what they're eating and the major parts of what they're consuming. We've established the fact that there's a nutritional gap because we know for a minimum that 98% of people are potassium deficient. What we've developed here at ID Life is a kids vitamin that is unmatched. I mean, this is the major competitors in the marketplace, and hands down, you can see ID Life stacks up better than anyone else. In fact, ID Life has been running a promotional price on the kids vitamin for some time now at $24.99. Well, you know what? It's not promotional anymore. It's now permanent. $24.99 is our retail price for our kids vitamin that is unmatched, top of the line, and from an ingredient standpoint, will stand up against anything else in the market. But most importantly, will give your kids exactly what they need and the amounts that they need it, and give them the cofactors necessary, the traffic cops, if you will, to deliver those nutrients to the bones, organs, tissues, and systems so that our kiddos can hopefully fill the gaps that they currently have, but more importantly, in the process, we can start learning about good nutrition and start giving them the foods that they need so that we can lessen those nutritional gaps in the future. If you want to learn more about what ID Life is about, what we have going on, I encourage you to go to myidlifestory.com. Tons of people that have taken the basic information that ID Life provides on a regular basis and applied it, given the information to others and allowed them to apply it. This isn't a focus on the 40 inches around your waist. This is a focus on the 6 inches between your ears. The whole idea behind this is to encourage you to educate yourself so that you can educate the people that you care about, that you love, that you want to encourage. So that's what this is. That's what it's about. And I encourage you to go there to see all of these people's amazing stories. Next week, we're going to tackle another subject. We're going to go after protein shakes. We're going to do some comparisons. We're going to talk about what protein shakes are and why they do a good job of supplementing the diet. But most importantly, we're going to show you about how you're getting the protein, where it's coming from, sourcing being an important part of that. But most importantly, how do all of the different proteins out there really stack up? When you do a comparison side by side of all the things that are out there in the market, how do they stack up against one another, and the things that you need to know before you go out there and use your hard-earned money to buy these things. So I encourage you to tune in next week, and we will be here for another Lunch and Learn all about protein shakes. So on behalf of ID Life, this is Mark Bennett. Thanks for being here.